Before we jump into this episode, I want to take a moment to tell you about the upcoming Texas Woodworking Festival, a 2-day celebration where makers and enthusiasts come together to share their passion for the craft. Join us for a weekend filled with creativity, community, and inspiration. You'll meet tool manufacturers, furniture makers, woodworking clubs, content creators, and more, all in one place with great food and drinks, and of course, all things woodworking. It all takes place in Austin, Texas on September 26th and 27th. The festival features an education track on both Saturday and Sunday, where you'll have a chance to learn from masters of the craft. Plus, there's also a special pre-conference content creator track on Friday, September 25th. Head to TexasWoodworkingFestival.com for more details and to grab your tickets. Use code MWAP10 to get 10% off your tickets. I'll drop a link in the show notes. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone at the Texas Woodworking Festival. Don't miss it. Hi, I'm Kyle, and on this episode of the MWA podcast, Sean, Jeff, and I are asking Brian Brace the 5 questions. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out Brian's interview on episode 604. So welcome back to the show, Brian.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Well, before we get to the 5 questions, we want to dip our toes in the woodworking news. And this time, we don't have anything really woodworking related. We have things that are woodworking adjacent.
Mm-hmm.
And the first one, and this was in my mind, is Greene, the footwear manufacturer. They have a new work sneaker coming out called the KS86. And I've long liked Greene sneakers and stuff. And the reason I put this is one of my favorite sneakers, which is the New Balance 886 that I love for the shop because it's really great on hard surfaces like concrete, stuff like that. Well, guess what? After years of making that shoe, they no longer make it. So now I'm looking at a new shoe, and I saw this pop up on, one of the sites I look for. And I'm going, hey, this is pretty cool. So they make a number of these, both for men and women's, and both in soft toe or carbon toe. So
I was going to ask about like a composite toe.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yep. And they're basically look like you're, like a sneaker, and they look pretty cool. I might have to try them out. They're not exactly cheap, but they're not exactly expensive, like the $140 for a pair, which is about what you would pay for a good pair of sneakers anyway. Not the 886s, though. They were a little cheaper. But anyway, I'm not going to press on that. It's like, golly, I can't believe they don't make that anymore. Anyway, but these look like an interesting alternative. So if you're in them, if you're need a work shoe and you might like maybe a sneaker or something like that for the shop, I want to check these out.
I'm actually in the market. I have a very old, honestly, really close, if not 20-year-old pair of WWing work boots, steel toes.
Uh-huh.
And as I'm going to more site visits, I wanted to kind of upgrade those, and I just wanted like a composite toe. So I just might be hitting up Greene.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yep. So pretty cool. And next up, this is something that Jeff brought to my attention, is Bearcat Wood has come up with a book. It's a children's book called the Chair Camp Book, and it was written by his wife, Kitty Noel, with a small assistance by Brian on the book. But it looks to be pretty good, and it's it's $22, and it's a nice children's book. So if you have a kid that likes to make stuff, this might be a great book for you. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, so I ended up ordering 3 copies of it. So I'm going to take one to give it to the Hendersonville Public Library, and then put one in my my kids' middle school. So and then I'll keep one for myself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. Pretty cool.
I saw your post about it, and that was it's a very, 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 very interesting thing that hopefully brings more eyes to the craft, gets kids involved. Just no time is too early.
That's right.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to chair making, it's not like I know somebody that has all the tools that hadn't made a chair yet. But anyway, why is everyone pointing at me? Oh gosh. Anyway, next up, Jeff also found this. Rhino USA has these retractable ratchet straps, which when you sent it to me, I go, why are you sending me ratchet straps? And then I watched a little video and I went, these are amazing.
Yeah, I ordered 4 of them. I was like, oh, those are pretty cool.
So they
it's just
actually
like it's a spring-loaded retract. Feature.
Yeah. So you don't have these cords all over the place when you're using them or after you finish. And I have a box in my truck that's just it's a tangled mess of these things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is one of my pet peeves, to roll it up real nice and put a rubber band on them.
Yeah.
So kind of I just yeah. And then I'm forever using those ratchet straps. It's like every time I turn around, either I'm picking up a load of wood or something, or a log or whatever, and I'm ratcheting something down.
Yeah.
All right. So by the end of the summer, let's put like a decent timetable on this for real life experience. Let's have a review, because I know you guys are going to use them.
Yep.
Because I'm very curious about wear and tear and how long that actual mechanism works. So the traditional ratchet strap hasn't changed in a very, very long time. So I'm just curious.
So it's funny you say that. So I will not, even though I get these ones that are retractable, whatever, I'm not going to depend on them, right? Like until I have them for a while, because I'm not going to be somewhere and like the it won't work. Then I got a law, you know what I mean? Just like,
well, just
I got to ask someone like,
what is the rule? It's like the Duresta rule that 2 is not enough, 3 is the right number, or whatever like that. You got to have 3 straps. So put a 4th on it and use this, and just see how it wears. Does it ever loosen?
Yeah.
Even if it's not the main one, it's just an accessory to all of the others. But just like add one to the mix and just kind of see how it's acting. Because that's the only thing I'm worried about, is whatever that mechanism is inside there, the spring, the pulls that are holding it back from loosening, like, do they weaken and how?
Yeah, and I would mention they have a couple different versions. They got a 1-inch wide version. I think the working load limit is 403 pounds with breaking strength of 1,209 pounds. And then they have a 2-inch wide one. And I think the working load limit on that is 1,000 pounds, 1,011 pounds, and breaking strength is
and they're not inexpensive.
I assume those are the ones you ordered, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, I ordered. Yeah, because the last time I was home, I got 1,000 board feet of walnut.
Yeah.
So,
yes, it's fairly heavy load.
It's a healthy load.
Sean can test them. You can just strap that washer on a trailer and drive around with them.
Just drag it behind me and see what fails first.
Don't last.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there it is. No, I mean, like similar story. Like, we were picking up lumber from my kid's house, and we're like, well, let's get a cheap set of ratchet straps while we're here at Menards and do it. But like these at $70, $80, there's something you're paying for them. And it is the mechanism that's inside it. So that's I'm very curious, because that is a multitude more expensive than like your general strap that you can buy and trust to some great degree. Just at Harbor Freight or wherever you're going to get those things.
Yeah. But then they always end up in a tangled mess in a box.
I know.
And then when you need them, it's like, okay, this is going to take 15 minutes to sort through.
You know what though? I'm the guy that doesn't mind unknotting something. I'll take the time and make it straight and in line again, and it'll probably get tangled up again. I have a sick, it's not a fascination, but Christmas lights and all those things that get terribly tangled and knotted up. I am very patient with those kind of things. But that's me.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. If you get some mystery boxes in the future,
oh God, it's gonna be tangled ratchet straps. Oh boy.
Yeah, I'll send you a box with a return label, and you can untangle it, and send it back.
I promise my fees will be reasonable.
There you go. Well, with that, let's give our patrons a shout out. So who do we have to thank this week?
Yep. This week, we're going to give our shout out, as we always do, to our Patreon supporters, to another friend of the show, Michael Jury. Thank you, sir, for helping us out. And if you, dear listener, would like to add in our support, you can do that by going to patreon.com/MWA podcast.
Fantastic. Well, let's move on to the 5 questions. So, Brian, first question is, what is your favorite tool? And as always, our limit is 23 tools.
I guess I'm also waiting to get a couple other nicer tools so I don't move. And when I want to get a new 12-inch joiner. But probably my most favorite tool to try to play around with is the multi-router, because like trying to do what can I do with this to bend the rule? Well, I can make a table that goes down to the bottom bars and then extend it so that way the bit is centered over the whole width instead of just from the tray. And then I can make like a tray that extends the table and do bigger, crazier stuff. And so it's basically turning the multi-router into a CNC with your brain as a CNC.
Yeah.
Well,
It's what it
I
always, I mean, in retrospect, that's what those things kind of seem like. They're like human-driven CNCs
yeah.
by
So
what they can do.
I enjoy the bending the rules with that kind of deal.
Now, do you have the old JDS multi-router or the?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've ran one since my apprenticeship.
Yep.
And I actually talked to the guy when I replaced one of the shocks on it, and when he sold Woodpecker, and he sold me a shock from himself that he still had. So I didn't have
Oh,
to
wow.
deal. They were in the middle of selling or whatever. He's like, "Oh, I got one here. I'll send you a couple." So he sent me a couple backups or whatever. But
Nice.
and then I don't
Have you put any of the upgrades on it?
no, see, and that's the thing with me is like
Dust collection.
no, I don't know. I'm into tools, but I'm also like so simple, sort of say.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like I'm the guy that walked into Northern Tool one time and went and walked out one day, and I said, "Holy crap, I've made it!" Like I actually walked into a store and didn't buy something. It was crazy. I just and so then I was like, okay, now I can start kind of figuring out what I want instead of what I need. And now I'm kind of waiting to get some more new trick tools or whatever as I develop this other space or whatever. But
Have you ever tried the Pana router out?
no, I haven't.
Yeah.
I don't own a Festool either, a tool, which is crazy. I'd like to get the vacuum and possibly the sander someday.
Sure. The only one I have was a sander that they were selling for $100.
Back in the day, yes.
Back in the day, and I snapped it up.
It was like
Well,
4 Christmases ago or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
No, it was longer than that.
It was a while back.
Yeah, it's got to be 10 years, somewhere around there. Yeah, I think it's when they were switching to the new format sanders that they had.
I think so. It's when they
yeah.
introduced their 6-inch and they ran a sale on the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the 125 or whatever.
Yeah, which is actually out of all I got 2 Festool sanders. I use that one the most.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, the Pana routers are cool because it's basically like a guided tenon machine.
Yeah.
You know.
But if you got the multi now, Jeff, you have
I picked up the multi router. I picked up just on the Facebook Marketplace. It was actually one of my buddies was selling it, and he posted he had it on there for like, I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes or something. And I was just like, bro, he was selling it super cheap. I mean, he didn't have any of the the newer upgrades or anything like that. So I picked it up right away. I was just like, so I've been toying around with it. It is pretty cool. It is pretty. The only thing I would say is that dust collection. There was no dust collection on it, and I did get the larger gas shock on it. And I did buy the that whole hood, that whole giant arrangement you put on that thing.
Yeah,
and it does help a lot.
So,
because the first couple pieces of walnut I put on, I had it all over my hair. I had it on my face, my hair. I was just like, all right, that's it. I ordered it right then and there in my shop. I'll explain it later to my wife.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I have it hanging on the wall right there, my shield. So if I'm really going at it, I just throw that thing on and let it fly at me. But it does. I mean, the good thing is that I'm not using it every day. So I use with my tools, because I only build probably 25 to 30 pieces of furniture a year. Most of the stuff, like I'll go 4 or 5 days without my wide belt sander, or so that's the cool thing with the tools. I'm not running them really hard. I do love my general 5-horse Baldor table saw because it's just solid,
Yeah, that's a solid
and I do
piece.
own the saw stop, the 5-horse. I don't.
You like the journal better. It's old iron.
Old iron. Yep.
I just feel like they tried to do everything.
Mhm.
They overthought like so much on the saw stop.
They did. I mean, it's just the modern way.
Yeah,
Just try to make it real feature rich and not think about the true detail of operation.
yeah. I mean, there's just certain things that. Well, actually, mine I ended up. I got the COVID version where they're supposed to hot weld, I guess, screws into the arbor, and they decided to epoxy them. And the
Mm.
5 hours of use, the epoxy went up the screws and went to the bearings and destroyed the whole arbor in my
Oh
saw
my.
that I've been waiting years to try to buy. And so I had to replace the whole arbor system myself because they wouldn't send a tech. That sucked.
Wow. Yeah, that's a bit much.
But
Dang.
I mean, I
That'd be hard.
love the whole concept of it, and it's cool to see what they're developing now. Like some of these ones where
Mhm.
the blade drops and it doesn't do a thing, and then it just resets and comes up in some of the sliders. I can't wait
Yep.
for that technology down the road. I use the sun
Yeah,
stop
I'm
things that
I'm hoping so because I think Felder developed that. And I was talking to some show a couple of years ago. I was talking to the Felder guys and go, "You think this is ever going to come down to more lower?" Because I think the saw that was on was like 30 grand or something like
yeah,
that. And I was like, "You think this is going to come down to maybe your 10 grand saws or something
Mhm.
like that?" And he's going, "No, uh."
Uh,
But this is a sales rep, so who knows? But
yeah,
it would be nice if that type of technology can come down because I have a saw stop, but I've had it for I don't know when did I buy it? 2010, something like that. 2009, 2010, somewhere around there.
early days.
Yeah,
Early days.
and it's been pretty rock solid. But I'm not doing the work you're doing as far as taxing it probably as much as you do.
yeah. I mean, I know a school that has both the same saws that I have, and the kids
Mhm.
they're supposed to use the saw stop, but
Mhm.
they just don't love it. Like as far as especially what I've noticed is like the dust getting up in the threads while you're cranking up and down,
Yeah,
and that's just like I'm like that's one of my
yeah. So do you have the professional cabinet saw, the
yeah
PCS?
yeah
Yeah, I heard it's different if you have the industrial cabinet saw.
yeah
It's a little bit better as far as that. Yeah, I got the same problem with mine is it's like once every well, with me it's probably it's probably when I get tired of using two hands on the wheel to raise the blade up. Uh but
Yeah. Oof.
yeah, but it's
yeah.
probably at least every 6 months I got to open that thing out and clean it out and
You
re-grease it
know,
and yeah, and it's
so that's
and
kind
it's
of
a
like
thing.
that's why I
Yeah.
like the general, but I also like the
Yeah.
fact of having the option to go to the saw stop when you're doing stuff that's kind of like you're like, you know what I mean? But I do a lot of resawing, so it fills that saw up, and it's gonna be a pain to kind of do that with it. But
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that in time that'll develop in whether it's saw stop or somebody else, that
Mhm.
it eventually hits the technology where they blend all of the like super solid, Powermatic 66 or the General,
Right.
and gain all that and put it all together in a saw that's clean. So there's not like all these little cubby holes in the saw stop where they like cut
Yeah.
out. They're like dust collection within the the saw.
Mhm.
But whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I'm with you there. I'm with you there. Yeah, that's a major complaint I have. I think it was Chris Swartz who was talking about that he replaced his PCS with the ICS, the industrial cabinet saw, just
Yeah.
because of all the gum up. He hadn't reported back on I don't know if he's got it yet or not, but he hadn't reported back if it's better. But that was his major complaint. Same one
Wow.
you got is the gears kept getting gummed up and it's a
Yeah.
mess.
Wow.
But crazy. So, next question then: who has influenced you the most in your craft?
I mainly would go with all of the past, Stickley, Greene, stuff like that, but also with my old boss, like how, and the guys that I worked with at the shop in Vermont, this guy, John Smith, he was in a cabinet shop. It was an industrial place where it was called Vermont Stored Fixtures. So he was 24 years old when I started when I was 16. And the funny thing is he had the same teacher in vocational as I had. So it was kind of like I was following behind him. And now he ended up leaving woodworking and he works for GE now. And he actually sends me router bits every now and then for the multi-router that are like banging awesome. Because they're only allowed to use them once, because he does the blades for the engine or the turn what do you call it, planes. So they can only use them once because they can't send them out to sharpen. So they throw them all out. So then he sends them to me, and I just get them sharpened, and I get some good bits. So, but the influence with those guys, and like I said, this guy Javier in Florida, was chasing some of these people with just crazy knowledge, and you can learn a lot. And now I hope that we are able to push others that are saying they're looking up at us, like as we get older,
So what's your white whale with that one thing you haven't built yet, but you always...
One of them that I want to build is I want to rebuild or build. When I was leaving Vermont, we were building Charles Greene's desk, the 2-tier one. And I was only there for the base, and then we left, and he then finished it and then submitted it and got it into Fine Woodworking and whatever as one of the submittals. So what I want to do is create one of the original Greene, one of them, the Gamble House couch that sits in front of those beams. I want it to settle. I want to do that.
Oh, that would be nice. Yeah.
And I want to take a couple of those pieces and be like, I can do those as well. But I choose to do some of my own twists in order to build my name. So people recognize, hopefully, my designs or whatever. But
for sure.
Nice. My wife's a pianist, so one of my favorite pieces from the Gamble House is that upright piano they have.
That place will blow your mind. You go up in the attic and you're like, what the hell? Like the woodworking in the attic is like just insanity. You're like, this is nuts.
So then go ahead.
Wait. So you've been in the attic of the Gamble House?
Yes. When we did the tour, I was up into the upper level up top where all the roof pitch in the end. And they have chairs up in there, and they like talk to you, do like a final talk up in there.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. So the next question then is, what is your number one tip for fellow woodworkers?
I thought about this today, and I told my wife, and it's kind of a simple tip, and it's know when to walk away. Like a lot of people don't know to just stop, and they're like, even if you make a mistake, like you have to figure out how to fix that mistake and not be in such a hurry. Like a prime example today was I had done this whole this big entertainment center for these people, and I still had wood that was left over from the job, but I didn't realize that they were going to order another piece for the same room. So I still had that lumber, and I pulled out all that lumber, and I got ready to okay, I'm going to make this unit from the same tree as that unit. And I started going through the lumber, and I moved like probably 60 boards from the storage unit into the shop. And I started going through it, and I could not find the few sticks that I needed just to do some of the trim. And I walked upstairs, and I said, I need to pull the plug, and I need to put that lumber back in the storage unit. And that is now in a separate storage unit. It's the lower end grade lumber that will not be used it'll be interior oak and stuff like that, even though it's quartered. And I put it all back, moved it all, and then I pulled out my next section of beautiful lumber. And I'm like, know when to stop and think instead of just keep working because you think you're being productive.
Right. No, that's very good. Very, very good.
Yep. That's nice.
Best thing to do sometimes is walk away, do something else, relook at it from a different angle, relook at it the next morning, whatever.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Especially when it comes to finishing. If you screw up a finish, do not try to fix it. Just let it cure.
Yep.
Let it cure. Yep.
Then you can go back and the gun leaked and dropped 2 drips on a final spray on a tabletop.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh.
So Brian, what's your go-to finish?
Let's see. I do dye stain finishes, water-based dye stain, and then I do use Sherwin-Williams, the high build old school lacquer still because of arts and crafts. And having to rub out, so I do all hand rub finish. I do the dull, and then or medium, and then I can buff it up to whatever sheen I'm depending on the customer. But that's my
Fume?
no. I'm still old school, like with the sanding process. I'm 3M paper. That's the one thing I've gone back to. I've tried other brands, but I feel like in some ways, I mean, I talked to actually the Klingsport people, and I'll use their belts for my wide belt and stuff like that. But I felt like their 150 was like 120 grit, and they're bragging about how fast it does things. And everything in the cabinet industry, it seems like everything's fast, 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 fast. And I'm like, it's almost like you're selling a lower grit paper and advertising it's quicker. So then I was like trying to figure out that problem, why when I sanded stuff to 150, it just seemed like it was never where I was at in Vermont. And I started playing around, and now I'm back to, so when I bring everything down to like 220 and like, wet oak and raise it all. And so I'll sand it to 150, wet it, and then sand it to 220 and polish it. And then as I assemble each piece is basically a finished piece. And that way, by the time I get done, I'm just barely any touch up for finish.
Do you just wet your pieces one time or twice?
I wet each individual part.
Okay.
And then as I'm sanding them to final sand, they are then ready to be assembled.
Okay.
And that's
gotcha.
it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Cool.
Way to
I
do
do
it.
that with all like porous grain wood.
Yeah. So you mentioned you spray. So do you have a separate spray booth type area?
Yeah, I just got one area that's separate. And I have another air compressor that's just a tank that's set up now. So when I'm there, I have a tank at both ends of the shop. So I have a 1966 Wayne laydown 5-horse 3-phase compressor, big old beast.
Wow.
That thing you could literally run a spray gun and an air sander at the same time. And the thing will run and shut off. Like, it's nuts. And there was a guy in Florida that had a hot rod shop, and they literally like detailed the thing and all of that. And he posted it, and it was funny. It was on Craigslist, and he posted it for sale. And I called, and I got this lady, and she kept picking up. She's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know anything about this compressor. So I looked into it more, and I was like, huh. So then I saw the guy had an email. So I emailed him, and he called me. And when I went to go meet him down the road, he was like, I'll just take $650 for it. And I was like, okay, because you were asking like $850. I said, that's a big help. And it's a 3-phase 5-horse. I mean, the motor's worth that or whatever.
Yep.
And I got home and was hitching it up like the next day. And it dawned to me, and I looked at my phone. The guy had posted on Craigslist, the number was 1 digit off. And that's why everybody was calling this other lady. And that's why he dropped the price $200, because he had never got any phone calls for it. So I love that story, like how just by being persistent and doing that email, I could have just blown it off, but instead I chased it and got this awesome compressor. So then I have them set up at both ends, and I still run cup gun, and I'm getting ready to go meet a friend down in Florida. He does all the crazy finishes. And I've got another friend that we're trained under Steinway pianos.
Oh, yeah.
That I learned a lot from him. And then another friend in Florida that his name is Jerry Altamari. He's a guy that showed up to our shop in Vermont and walked in one day, and he was from New York City, and he did all restoration and actually refinished Eisenhower's desk and started showing us like, okay, you guys do nice finish, but how about like you do this? And he would slowly just show up and teach us things. And he was unreal, like crazy. Like he showed up one day where he had a piece of bird's eye maple, and he painted it white and put tape on it, and then faux it and did the whole thing and walked up and handed it to us. And we were like, yeah, what's up? And then he pulled a piece of tape off. He was like, I painted that all white and faux it all to match. And we were like, what?
That brings up an interesting point. Everyone goes to all these woodworking classes and learns how to build furniture. Why aren't there any finishing classes?
That's one of the ones that I was looking at doing down the road.
Yeah.
And once I get out in the woods and I'll have kind of like the more, once I get that set up, I can start deciding what classes to do. So like one of the classes I want to do is like when you do it, you're actually going out to the lumber pile. I'm teaching you how to like pick out all the way, through that stuff. But, and I've been awesome. It's Greenville Woodwork Guild. I went down and talked to them and did a whole guest speaker there. And they had reached out to me about doing a finishing class down there with them. There needs to be. I mean,
yeah, because your ordinary hobbyist woodworker spends all this time, building a project, and then he gets to finishing, and it's like all of us, that have been there. It's like, hey, we just got to fight our way through this till we find something that works, and once we find that, we very rarely venture outside of that comfort zone. It's like, I know this works. Yeah.
It's also the fact that, everything is geared toward the pump it out the door.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why these people are struggling, because they're trying to do those steps like that. And it's like, but you're just working on one table. Like, you don't have to. So some of these products are just, Sherwin-Williams has kind of bought out everybody, the Mohawk, like everybody.
Yeah.
ML Campbell,
Yep.
So I just think it's, that's the other thing is like, it's not necessarily the finish, it's the prep to the finish.
Yeah.
Everybody gets in that race, they build, and then once it's time to sand, they don't put the effort in, and then they wonder why they don't get the finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That step is just as crucial, if not more crucial, in order to make sure that finish comes great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's that way. I mean, I can't even count the times I put a coat of finish on something and it went, okay, well, we're sanding this finish off and we're going back to bare wood because this looks horrible. And it's basically, I wasn't prepped far enough, or it's got some sort of like little swirl mark in it you didn't notice till after you put the finish on that first coat. So, yeah. Well, with that, Brian, where can folks find you on the interwebs?
I am under brianbracefinefurniture.com. You can email me at info@brianbracefinefurniture.com. And then I'm also under Instagram and Facebook under Brian Brace Fine Furniture. And now on TikTok, starting to build some more breadcrumbs for people to find.
Heck yeah.
It's all about them.
That's it.
Brian, this has been just wonderful having you on there. I think you're our first master Roycroft artisan on. So this is absolutely fantastic. And it's been great.
Thank you guys, man.
It's been a blast for sure.
To tell you the truth, this is the first podcast I've ever.
Well,
couldn't tell.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, the first time I saw you and it had the double R, I was just like, my jaw just about dropped. So it was back when my father was still alive. I called him and stuff. I was like, man, there's this guy, he lives in Asheville, And that's
thank
cool.
you. It's the cool thing is that a lot of people don't know as well that until I became master, none of the pieces I put the Roycroft mark, the double R showing. They're all underneath. And then when I became master, I put it on the master desk that I was working on. And the only other piece was the Roycroft goodie box piece that I had it on the outside. So now any piece that you see that's exposed on the outside, it's after I've become master.
And that just about wraps it up for this show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on the podcatcher of your choice. Just search for the Modern Woodworkers Association. And while you're there, please leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at MWA_podcast. And if you'd like to support the podcast, go over to patreon.com/MWA podcast. But the best thing you can do is tell a friend. Word of mouth goes a long way in sharing our discussion.